Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and honestly, the Adam Sessler stuff has kind of been covered to death, so there probably isn't much a point in me covering it, but I kind of want to just because, well, I was a G4 fan. I mean, like I said in my previous G4 video, I grew up with that network. It was my favorite. Just like in that last video, I'll tell you, Shingo Yamamoto was my favorite competitor on Ninja Warrior. I mean, I'd wager a guess Morgan Webb may have been one of my first celebrity crushes, if you could even call her a celebrity crush. And Allison Hayslip, man, when she did the MTV Cribs, but it wasn't really a Cribs, it was an MTV Cribs-esque tour of the tour bus for Bowling for Soup, my favorite band of all time. There was just... G4 was a magical time. Except for that TV show Hurl. Hurl was awful. But yeah, when you see somebody that you used to, idolize or you used to be a fan of, and time goes by and they turn into just a shell of their former selves, it does sort of change your outlook. That really hasn't happened with me, though, because I was never really an Adam Sessler fan to begin with. So let's go over some of his tweets and some of his responses, while I also kind of just rant and moan about, why I never really cared for Adam Sessler to begin with. So, yeah, this is Adam So Not a Gamer Sessler. Despite the fact that his brand and his self-image was built entirely on being a gamer since he rose to prominence in the mid to late 2000s. This person here says, "You don't hate games, you're just salty because you're old, jaded, and miserable. You took too many drugs or drank too much booze, and you're consumed by politics. You're jealous of those who haven't yet self-immolated, and you're lashing out. You peaked at 30, irrelevant at 50. To which he responds with, or, hear me out on this one, it says "dur," but it's probably supposed to say "do." "Due to professional success, I'm no longer in a position where I need to pretend I care what you or the gamers think, so I do what I please, unfettered and unworried about your limited interpretation." So, anytime you are a fan of somebody, you are a fan of what you hope is authenticity, what you hope is really them. There's a reason that Chris Gore from DV Doomsday back in the day is still relevant with, Film Threat and Film Courage on YouTube and always being part of Friday Night Tights or being on shows with, like, The Critical Drinker. It's because he was authentic. When he was on Attack of the Show and he was doing DV Doomsday, it was clear Chris Gore loved movies. And it's a wonder, well, it's not really a wonder, but it's a wonder why they didn't bring him back for the G4 relaunch. It's probably got nothing to do with the fact that his politics didn't align with what more mainstream political mindsets are today. But I have trouble believing that Adam Sessler wasn't always a gamer. I really do. Everyone on G4 was pretty authentic from everything I could tell, from all the post-G4 interactions. Kevin Pereira, Morgan Webb, especially Olivia Munn. Olivia Munn was a nerd icon, and to this day, kind of still is. After leaving G4, she got cast as Psylocke in an X-Men movie. Now, the Psylocke character was written horribly, and it was the worst X-Men movie that's ever come out, but my point is, her nerd cred stayed. She was freaking Psylocke, and that was after years at G4. I just find it difficult to believe that he is in a position where he doesn't need to pretend or care what gamers think. He was a gamer. He really was. That's why those reviews and whatnot were so authentic. It seems like he's trying to distance himself or disavow his past because of whatever misguided thought process he has about the current industry or the current fans. Or maybe he's just become disenchanted with gaming and become more obsessed with politics in a negative way. But I do have trouble believing him here when he says he was never a gamer. That, or he never truly was a gamer and he was lying to us all the time, the entire time. At which point, I almost want to say you can't blame him. People who want to be in the industry, television, movies, whatever, will do or say anything to be in that industry. It's a tough business to crack. So if the best job you can get is working for a video game network and you have to pretend to be a gamer, well, that's kind of, what you have to do and put up with. But considering how active he was in the gaming space off of G4, like appearing on Fox News, or I believe it was Fox News, to argue with conservatives years ago, back in the G4 era, to argue with conservatives about how violence in video games does not equate to real-life violence. I feel like he would not have spoken that passionately on a news outlet if he wasn't actually a gamer. Let's look at some more of these. "If only you did this stuff while G4 was still around. This wings ain't clipped any longer." he did do this stuff when G4 relaunch was around, but also he probably wouldn't have gotten in trouble for this stuff back in the original G4 days because nobody cared. Politics weren't so divisive. Social media was not what it is now. The times were different, so you could have certain opinions and not be looked at as, a wrong think or trying to get canceled for them. He probably always was like this when G4 was around, the original interpretation. And we just didn't see it because of the medium of communication was vastly different. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe he really has just gotten old and bitter, but kind of believe in the authenticity that this is who he was, but who's to say? Not. Who's there? Gamer. Gamer who? Gamer. Like, what's that even mean? That's not a joke. That was 47 minutes ago as of the recording of this video. That's not a joke. It's not funny. It's just a lame tweet. It screams I'm bitter and trying to stir up controversy, and maybe he wants to stay trending on Twitter. Maybe he likes the relevancy. Maybe that's how he makes some sort of money. I don't know, but it's strange, that's for sure. Welch's fish sticks are tastes of gamers, crunchy breaded. I know this is supposed to be derogatory, but I fucking love it. I mean, this is also just like this is a bad tweet. So is this. It's not funny. It's not very good. It's not clever. Tastes of gamers. Like, if you're gonna roast someone online, I obviously don't condone harassment of any type, but if you're gonna roast someone online, you gotta step your game up a little bit. I mean, he can come back with something like this easy. Okay, so here's something from Salt King with a collection of tweets. So, Adam Sessler admitting he grifted gamers for decades, posing as a gamer to make money on G4, while at the same time not being a gamer. You, sir, are pathetic. The only one with a needle dick is you, projecting. That's why GT4 TV failed. Hashtag stay salty. Okay, so obviously this was a name change at the time. Someone said, why do they all think you personally ran G4 and made all the financial decisions? I have a theory on this. It's because gamers are small dicked, synaptically challenged social scabies. I never say I hated him. The people who lost their jobs will hate him. I see him as a total dick. Well, at least I'm a whole dick, not half-assed, soggy toothpick gamer version. I have a theory on this. Adam Sessler's a fucking clown. Cool theory, bro. I'll take it under consideration while I'm explaining why the gamers are the public lice of society. Maybe I'll wear a red nose. Like, and then he's, pathetic or very, very skilled. So again, he either has been grifting this whole time, or the dude was, or he's just become a shell of his former self, but he feels the need to just embody who he is who he is now, is who he's always been, because that is the only way he can, justify his current behaviors. Star Wars quote, kill the past. And I don't know if that's the healthiest mindset for him to be in. That being said, I also think that this particular tweet here, cool theory, bro, I'll take it under consideration while I'm explaining why gamers are the public lice of society. Maybe I'll wear a red nose. I don't know. Here's the biggest issue I have with this tweet. It's not that he's insulting gamers, or it's not that he's, retweeting, the RG85, who I don't even know who that is, and just, going on this tirade, this rant that he just can't handle people saying bad things about him. It's that he doesn't understand gaming. Like that's what I get from this, because when he says gamers are the public lice of society, I said this in a previous video. Video gaming is the biggest entertainment industry in the world. In the world. It makes more money than Hollywood movies. It makes more money than Bollywood. It makes more money than TV. It makes more money than books. Gaming is the most lucrative financial entertainment system in the world. So to call gamers lice, I mean, that just means that you're talking about, it does not get to be the biggest, financial industry, entertainment-wise, in the world if it does not incorporate a majority, or at least a large portion of individuals. Almost everyone is a gamer in some way, shape, or form, whether it be mobile games on their phone, hardcore gamer, casual gamer. So just to lump everyone in one tweet like this, are you talking about, just people in America, or are you talking about, is this, when you say gamers, are you talking about people in Asia who, play games religiously? I mean, we all know about the stereotype of, the Asian competitive game players. Oh man, those people from Korea and you're fighting them online in COD, you're gonna die. That whole joke and stereotype. So when you say gamers, are you talking about worldwide? Are you, at this point, are you attacking literally people in other countries with other politics that you know nothing about? You clearly don't understand the industry or don't care to. yeah, people on Twitter are going to whine and throw fits, both Adam Sessler and other people on the aisle. I don't really care about whining and throwing a fit about this because, like I said, I was never an Adam Sessler fan. He always seemed, even, there was a certain funny charm to people whose on-air persona is to be that of, kind of a dick. Sometimes it's a funny character that people play. But Adam Sessler, go rewatch some old X-Play videos, like the OG ones, some episodes. He was just kind of a dick to be a dick, and it wasn't funny. I don't think he was charismatic enough for it. Whereas Kevin Pereira had moments where he was a dick, but it was hilarious because there was this sort of self-aware cheekiness in it. There was nothing self-aware about even OG Adam Sessler. So maybe he really did hate games back then, or it was just a character he played, and it turned out to be far more realistic than we realized. But yeah, Adam Sessler wasn't that likable back then. This show was likable, and the content was likable, and Morgan Webb was hot. So because you have, a likable show, a likable channel that's not like any others, even if one of the four main hosts wasn't that great, or wasn't that, or was, kind of off-putting, that was fine. We were still getting video game content in a pre-YouTube age, or at least a very early in YouTube age. Back then you had, you didn't have game reviews. You didn't have channels dedicated to it. You had, maybe some walkthroughs with a horrible editing in Windows Movie Maker and maybe some sound here and there, or unlicensed, music usage that back in the day, there was no copyright strikes for things like that. So you had Adam Sessler and you had Morgan Webb, and that was really it. So, it just shows that he does not understand the gaming industry as a whole. Maybe he understands games. Maybe he's a good writer. Maybe he can review things well. I'm not saying any of that's not the case. I mean, I still liked his reviews back in the X-Play days. I always, even if I didn't agree with them, like how he treated Dragon Ball Z Budokai, I at least liked hearing the review. But just because you can write well or give a good review, maybe it doesn't mean you understand the industry as a whole. Let's go on. Shut up and pay your $8 already. Oh, your mom's home? See, he does this all the time, your mom stuff. I don't know what he hopes to accomplish, because we all know that your mom jokes are the easiest, most played out, lame way to get, attention and get, bait and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if he is trying to troll trolls by using even worse jokes, or if he just can't come up with anything better, because according to the most recent G4, they had writers, they had staff writers, people did the writing for him. Maybe it was even like that back in the OG days, I don't know. So maybe he truly is an awful writer and can't come up with anything better than your mom stuff. First off, stop using big complex words. Everyone knows you're not very intellectual. Also, at I Am Jericho pulled it off way better than you could ever hope to. Second, are you mentally ill? Seriously, you say some of the worst things you could as a human being. Nothing will say gamer today more than stop saying big complex words. Like, when he says gamer today, that makes me think that he just hates modern gamers. That back then, maybe he really was into this stuff. But also, that counteracts what he was claiming is, yeah, it's always been a grift, and I'm a good actor. I've never liked games. So, we're once again back to, is he lying or has he always been a grifter? I truly, truly don't know. It's kind of insane to think about just the psyche of Adam Sessler and his absolute breakdown and where this is all going. And not only that, but, nothing says gamer today more than stop saying big, complex words. Bro, we get a lot of big, complex words in gaming. Like, technobabble is absolutely a thing. Gamers are okay with big, complex words. This guy's telling you stop doing it to try and look smart because it fails. You don't look smart when you do it. It's like you're trying to say, oh man, what's a word for hard? And you hit up Google and you're like, hard, synonyms, oh, complex, alright. Yeah, I started using complex words, that's a better word than hard. Like, it looks like you Google, synonyms for the words you use when you have, something with far fewer syllables in mind. That's what it boils down to, is that this guy's saying, dude, you don't look like an intellectual, just be authentic, be real. That's all anyone wants of anyone, is for them to be authentic and real. And here we've got this. Okay, but been enjoying any games lately? Replaying Jedi Fallen Order really holds up. Well, for one, I would hope it holds up. It's only a few years old. It's not like a movie from the 80s or something. But, I mean, then again, if he hates gamers and hates games so much and he's always been a grifter, why is he replaying games? Or does he love games and just hate gamers? I don't know. The man is quite an enigma, but he's also not one I care to really understand. I just thought it'd be fun to make a video about him, to kind of cover him, and I don't know. I think I'm already done checking out his fall from grace. This was just sort of an impromptu video. There wasn't a whole lot going on in the news, and the Adam Sessler stuff's been boiling over the last, 48 hours, so I'm kind of late to the party, but thought, you know what? Maybe there'll be something interesting. And I guess I didn't find anything interesting aside from the realization that we don't know who Adam Sessler is. And I don't know if we ever will. We don't know if Adam Sessler is, has always been what he is now, if what he is now is a new development. We don't know if, what he is now is even the real Adam Sessler, or if what he was back then was the real Adam Sessler. It's like a Punnett square box of all different versions of Adam Sessler, and we're going to put them together and find out what's the dominant and recessive traits of this balding man baby. And it's not a Punnett square I care to do, I'll be honest. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there, and, maybe you guys will find something interesting, or maybe we'll have more information pop up in the future. All I know is that I don't really care that Adam Sessler's gone off the deep end. I care that Morgan Webb is still hot. Well, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, or let me know on Twitter @BoltTheWord, and please subscribe to the channel. The more you subscribe, the more nerdy news I can bring you, and sometimes pop culture references, even politics. Check out my most recent video on Randy Orton of the WWE, who had some controversy surrounding him. And until next time, this has been Words of Paradise.